Bases drop, new round of SDH AM. John, hear you there. Thanks for coming by, as you always do. It's Thursday Thoughts. Apologies for 9:06. Was trying to get stuff squared away here for hour number one. Hour number one, we're going to kind of get you prepped for your day. We're going to hear from Don Garber, MLS Commissioner, in town for the Business of Soccer Summit downtown. Our Maddie Cruz is there. She caught up with him yesterday. We're going to hear a little bit of that. Maddie has been running the halls of the Atlanta Stadium, soon to be named Atlanta Stadium, and we'll find out what the experience has been like for her as the week goes along. But she caught up with Don Garber yesterday, and we'll hear that in opening kickoff. Also, opening kickoff, we're going to hear from Javier Perez, the Atlanta United Director of Methodology, conversation that he had with Maddie and Jason. The full conversation is up in written form over at soccerdownhere.net. Audio should be coming out fairly soon, but we're going to give you a bit of a piece of that particular conversation with Maddie and Jason and Javier about Atlanta United and the approach that is being taken when it comes to the identity of Atlanta United. You know, wanting to define the vague language around being attacking and entertaining. And then he goes into three ideas that personify that. So we're going to hear from Javier Perez once again. Written word is up at soccerdownhere.net. Audio should be available fairly soon if it is not on your favorite podcatcher already. So we'll get that in opening kickoff. Did you know that today is the first of two stages for folks to finally figure out who those final teams are going to be that are going to be in the tournament over here in this hemisphere coming up in 77 days? 77 days to the World Cup. And so we're going to go over the matchups today. And once again, it's matchups today leading into the bracket, and then early part of next week, we will find out who from Europe is going to finally be making it into those empty slots. And then also late night, or like 3 o'clock in the morning, we'll find out the other intercontinental playoff. And I know that a lot of folks might be looking at New Caledonia, ranked 152nd in the world. We'll let you know what's going on there. So we got World Cup qualifying continuing today. Semifinals are today. Tuesday, I believe, is the final finals. And then we'll have our final grid as to who is in and who is going to be chasing after the Cup. We're going to hear from Atlanta United. We're going to hear from Atlanta United. We're going to hear from Don Garber, Major League Soccer. And we also have a piece of history to discuss in the NWSL from last night. So we'll go over those results as well. Hour number 2 is the Power Hour with Nino and Nico. And whatever is on Nino Damas's mind, we will find out in about an hour. And then in last half hour of the show, Niko Moreno is going to join us from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart. And we're going to go over Major League Soccer right now at the bye week. We're going to do a little bit of red light, yellow light, green light. We're going to talk about some big names. We're going to talk about what we discussed yesterday and the stadium announcement in Sacramento, what he thinks about what might be happening. Is it going to be just USL Premier for him? Does he think that they could be team 31 of 32 in a 20,000-seat stadium? We'll find out from Nico in the final half hour of the show. So we'll have all of that for you this morning. Morning, David. Glad you are here as well. Once again, another reminder, 5:30 and 7:30 tonight in Hogansville. It is Thursday night soccer here on the network, and it is going to be Morgan County, and it is going to be Callaway, and they're going to be going at it in Hogansville at Callaway. And so we're going to have those matchups for you coming up at 5:30 and 7:30 tonight. Soccerdownhere.net. You go to listen, you hit the listen tab, and then what you go from there is magically you are transported to our grid, SDH1, SDH2 podcatcher. And if you see the red live light going on either SDH1 or 2, that's where the game's being broadcast. Tonight's going to be on SDH1, not as crowded a grid as it will be come playoff time, or in Creek Cup at the beginning of the year. SDH1 tonight is going to have Morgan County and Callaway. So Madison travels to Hogansville. My guess is they're probably going to leave a little bit after lunch and start heading that way. And so 5:30, 7:30 on the network tonight. I'll have the call for you from Hogansville. It's Morgan County and Callaway. Big region rivalry, and the standings are massively important in Region 2 AA on the On the boys' side right now, Morgan County 6-1, Pike County 6-1, Callaway at 6-2. Pike and Callaway are at 9-4 overall. Morgan County right now in the lead, 6-1, 8-2 on the boys' side. And then you get into the girls' side of things, and it is just as compact when it comes to the grid in Region 2 AA on the girls' side. Right now, Morgan County is third in the rankings. It is Pike County, it is Callaway, it is Morgan County, and it is Jackson. So we know the four, we just don't know the where. Pike County on the girls' side has run the table 7-0 in region play. They've only given up one goal in the 7 matches. They've scored 67. And so they're 11-2. They've won 9 in a row. Callaway is 6-2, 9-4 overall on the girls' side. They've won 2 in a row. Morgan County needs this one to get to 6 wins. They're right now 5-2, 6-4 overall on the girls' side. And then Jackson is 3-5, 5-7. So we know the 4. We just don't know the order yet. This is right now chasing after the 2 and the 3. Who gets the home berth on the girls' side come playoff time? This one probably goes a long way in that tonight. 5:30 for the girls, 7:30 for the boys on the network. SDH1 will have it. I'll have the call for you. And we cannot thank Callaway for their hospitality, because I'll probably end up taking pictures, but it is at the new soccer facility at Callaway. And so they are providing a roof and shelter for us. And so we will let you know what's going on out there at Hogansville. It's always great to catch up with Coach Pettit and find out what's going on at Callaway. Had him on Red Clay Soccer Report last week and kind of warned him, hey, we kind of flexed our schedule. And so, and then he goes, well, hey, how about this one? And we're like, okay, cool. And so that's how we end up heading out there tonight, 5:30 and 7:30 in Hogansville. If you're there, come by, say hi, and we will be it'll be a cool environment and a great matchup in AA soccer tonight as we go. Also, if you and your favorite soccer program know anyone that is along the lines of the Make That Kid an Offer milieu, we have started this season what we call the Georgia Call-Up, and thanks to our friends at the Georgia Student Finance Authority for helping us out with that. When I do high school football over at Georgia Public, we have Make That Kid an Offer. It's been a part of our recruiting framework for a couple of years. And for whatever reason, if there is a player that is too whatever, and I just did air quotes for those just listening, too small, too out of position, too geographically challenged to go and recruit, what have you. But the academics are there, the athletics are there, the extracurriculars are there, and if you know a coach, or if you are a coach that has players that you're kind of sitting there and going, okay, well, this player is not getting the looks they deserve, and it's both boys and girls soccer, or you think that they're not getting any looks at all and need to be looked at, that's what Georgia Call-Up is for. And it is for helping out in and around the state and letting everybody know that this is the number 3 state for recruiting in a bunch of different sports. And here are some athletes that you need to know more about. And we've caught up with Northwest Whitfield. We're catching up with folks at LOA, Lake Oconee Academy. We're catching up with folks at Cedartown on this. And so the Georgia Call-Up with our friends at the GSFA and GeorgiaFutures.org. We can't thank them enough for this. But if there is a senior that you think for whatever reason isn't getting the looks, then let us know. You can shoot us an email, soccerdownhere.net, DM us, do whatever, and reach out to us, and you can let us know about these great student athletes that folks are missing out on until we catch up with them and we've let everybody know what's going on when it comes to the Georgia Call-Up this year, something that we've started with our friends at the Georgia Student Finance Authority and gafutures.org. Okay, so opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Let me get my reader here just so I get the wording correct. Once again, you want to start your day, and we start our day with all the news that you need. And you get to start with a great cup of coffee. Start your day with the most important stories in the game. Right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend, made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied with notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Maddie is spending her time, spent it there yesterday, and is spending it there today. Not her entire time, but a lot of it. Morning, Alex. Morning, Abby. At the Business of Soccer Summit presented by Sports Business Journal down at Atlanta Stadium, or soon to be Atlanta Stadium. Right now, it's still Mercedes-Benz, still the blank tank. So she is down there, and it is literally a who's who in the sport, internationally a who's who. Victor Montagliani was there for a panel discussion. Don Garber is there. You have pretty much anybody who's anybody. And, you have I want to get the rundown because the list is staggering at times. The Business of Soccer, and they're holding it here this year. So you look at all of the names that are attending. So the speakers list, just to give you an idea of the speakers list, and it's yesterday and today, and that's why we tried to get our friend Kevin Egan in when technology would allow, and to discuss this as a part of what's going on with him. So you have a lot of local names that are attached. Uncle Arthur Blank is there. Cindy Parlow-Cone is there. You've got Landon Donovan, who's on the speakers list. Don Garber, Clark Hunt. You have Christina Litz from the Northern Super League, who is there. Sir Mohammed Mansour from San Diego FC is a part of this. Victor Montagliani, the president of CONCACAF, is there and was set to be on a panel discussion. Amanda Vandervoort from the Gamebridge Super League is there. And so there's a lot of different folks that are on these panel discussions. And it is an opportunity literally to sit there and pick the brain of all of these folks when it comes to the business of soccer and where it is right now in 2026. So yesterday, Don Garber was part of a panel discussion. And then after said panel discussion, our Maddie Cruz caught up with him and asked specifically about the home city of this year's Business of Soccer Summit, Atlanta, and what his thoughts are about where it is in soccer's landscape.
How has Atlanta also been a huge factor, especially in developing MLS, but also especially now, especially with the World Cup?
This is such a great sports city. It's a rising, large city in America. We've got, our icon, our Uncle Arthur, who's here, and that's been just leading the sport on the men's side with United, and now on the women's side, naming our national training center. It is unusual to have an individual that can lift the sport up almost on their shoulders. And that happened with Lamar Hunt and Robert Kraft and Phil Antrich when they founded the league. And, Atlanta has, thankfully, has Arthur Blank. Rabid fan base, great facilities, great training ground, lots and lots of World Cup matches, and I think well-deserved. They proved it.
So that's Maddie Cruz catching up with Don Garber yesterday at the Business of Soccer Summit. Today, to give you an idea as to kind of the agenda that is there, you have in the rundown, here's the agenda for today. Impact of hosting a World Cup. Don Garber, Victor Montagliani, and Cindy Parlow-Cone. You've got New Wave, how MLS stadia are shaping cities, communities, and futures, engaging fans in the attention economy, industry insight, where you get into data and AI and soccer engagement. CONCACAF Champions Cup is one that's going to be this afternoon. Everything is like lunch today. Yesterday was the long day. Get in early, have your breakfast. You're out by like 6. Today, it's lunch, out by dinner time, and then you're off and running. Later this afternoon, it's one session on the Triple C, and you've got Hector Gonzalez Iñárritu, the Chief Operating Officer of Club America, that's a part of it. Brad Mount from the Four Letter, Catherine Rust Zeich from Hilton. You've got Sustaining Momentum when it comes to women's soccer. Christina Litz from the Northern Super League. We've had folks from the NSL on. Kelly Schuldeis from the VP of Marketing. We've had her on. Christina Litz, the president of the Northern Super League, is here for her panel discussion at 4:30 this afternoon. Amanda Vandervoort is there. Sarah Jones-Simmer, the COO of the NWSL, is there. You have, and that's one that kind of wraps up everything before you have the fireside chat with Clark Hunt for about a half hour. So that's just today. Yesterday, it was a really long day and a lot of great guests that came in. And obviously can't thank SBJ for letting Maddie go in and be a part of all of the news gathering information that's there. So great for her to catch up with Don Garber yesterday. And we'll see what she has today when it comes to anything and everything going on at the Business of Soccer Summit downtown. And so as a part of that, you heard Don Garber mention Atlanta United and the city and the impact that Arthur M. Blank and AMBSE have had when it comes to Atlanta United, Major League Soccer, and the National Training Center, and having that kind of an impact. As a part of that, this is where we steer the conversation to a piece of journalism and an in-depth interview that Maddie and Jason did with the Director of Methodology, Javier Perez, with Atlanta United. And it's going to be up in various forms. Written form is already up at soccerdownhere.net. So if you want to take a peek at that article, it's a really good deep dive where when it comes to Javier Perez, he's looking at building in the academy side of things. Written word is up. And it's according to the translation, it's about a 6-minute read. But part of the discussion that Maddie and Jason had with Javier Perez had to do with the football identity of Atlanta United. And here's how, when the question was asked about the Atlanta United way, here's how Javier explained how, you want to be attacking and entertaining, yes. But he dives into the specifics of what that means and simplifying the message for coaches and continuity. So you have a message, once again, methodology. And so then how you take the language of what you hear from sound bites and things like that, attacking and entertaining. Okay, great. What does that mean? How does that translate? And so the conversation goes to there, and Maddie and Jason asked Javier Perez about football identity with Atlanta United. And here was his answer when he was presented with that particular question and how he would explain it going forward.
That's a great question. And that's the question that I wanted to answer when I first came here, because you always listen to the press conferences and it's like, we want to be an attacking team. We want to be offensive. We want to be entertaining, all these things. But how does it really look like?
Yeah, you can do that a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and I wanted, without coming with a page of back and forth things, I wanted to have 3 things that describe the way we play. And the number one is play fast and forward. I think with the profile of players that we have, fits very well in this kind of style. Number 2 is defending compact. So how we can be connected and act as a unit to regain quickly the possession of the ball. And number 3 is playing with intensity. And that means how we can keep the game in the attacking half, so we are not as exposed defensively, and we can capitalize on opportunities in the attacking half. So for that, we need to push higher the defensive line to halfway of the field. So I think these 3 different elements gives a more clear picture of how we want our teams to play.
It's funny, the process of, I think back to Cruyff and Guardiola, and how Cruyff had the idea and maybe didn't have the book behind it. And Pep comes in and kind of puts a structure to the idea and then makes it where you can replicate it a little bit. It kind of feels like that process has happened here in a way, where there was an ideal of attacking, exciting, entertaining, scoring a bunch of goals. Okay, now how do you structure that to get there? And it feels like that's what your role is doing a lot of.
Yeah, correct. And then the other thing is to make it in a simplistic way. Right?
Yeah.
So what I ask, and I don't mandate every training session for the coaches, except in pre-season, that we cover certain topics, and then during the season they just modify those topics just to make sure that we give continuity to the team. But we have these 3 points for the style of play, and then 5 different principles defensive, and 5 different principles offensive. And we work constantly on this. And as a matter of fact, coaches have laminated 2 pages and these are the ones that on the bench they take a look and they correct constantly.
Conversation that Maddie and Jason had in part with Javier Perez, the director of methodology for Atlanta United, just to kind of have everyone understand about messaging and what, when you hear things in sound bites and stuff, how that translates. And so big conversation that they had, and the written word version is over at soccerdownhere.net, and you can kind of, like I said, it's about a 6-minute read, and the audio is in-house. And let me see if it has been posted as an actual show at the moment, or if it has been listed as a 1v1, and it has not. Okay, so it is still in-house at the moment. So keep an ear out for bits and pieces of that particular conversation that Maddie and Jason had with Javier Perez, the director of methodology for Atlanta United, and taking the principles of play and having them be uniform when it comes to coaches, training sessions, and understanding what Atlanta United is trying to accomplish across the board. And hang on just a second. I'm trying to catch up with the coaches. Let's see, a couple of our grids for, and I'm trying to let everybody know how they can listen to the broadcast. And one will have, sorry, I'm sorry, this is, I know it's riveting television, but I'm answering an email really quickly. A live bug. Okay, so here, hang on. A live bug when it's up and running. Okay, so I think that does it. All right. So once again, that conversation is up with Javier Perez and with Maddie and Jason. You can catch the written word over at soccerdownhere.net, recommended reading. So that's required reading for today. And audio's in-house, and how much that gets released into the ether will let you know. Okay. That is Opening Kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy-bodied with notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate and a rich world-class finish. Opening Kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. I will have to take your word for it since I'm not a coffee person. But let me know how it is, and continue to, if you dig it, if you dig those that way of getting your morning caffeine, then by all means, Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Me, I still have my my nitrous oxide over here to kind of let things go. All right. Did you know, as Nino Torres will join us in about a half hour, and Niko Moreno joining us in an hour or so, did you know that today is the next stage for World Cup qualifying? Did you know? And it is for Europe to continue to make sure that their numbers are whittled down, to figure out who gets to go into those European spots, who goes into those groups, and we get to find out who gets to make it and come on over here and visit with all of us come the time that the world is chasing after the activities, when you're chasing after the World Cup. So it is promotion qualification, basically. And today you have 10 matches around the planet, and it goes through intercontinental playoffs, and it goes through Europe. So here is the rundown of the matches, and we'll go through the bracket and the grid, and we'll let you know what it looks like. And so obviously, juice boxes, and you have the one match starting at 1 o'clock, and it is Turkey and Romania. Turkey is a -217, favored at home, obviously. And Romania on the road is a +550. Draw at 90 minutes is a +400. A lot of games at 345. Czech Republic at home hosting Ireland at a -108. Ireland is a +300. Draws a +250. Denmark hosting North Macedonia. North Macedonia is a +1400. And if North Macedonia is who they normally are, they're going to try and just bore Denmark to death. Don't care about possession. Try and create a turnover. Be clinical about it and finish. So I like the draw at a +550. Denmark is a -455. Italy at home to Northern Ireland. The screams that you hear might be Nico Leafy. They might be. You might hear screams at 3:45 from Kevin Egan having to do with Ireland. Northern Ireland at Italy. Italy is a minus 345. Draws a plus 425, and Northern Ireland is a plus 1,000. Poland hosting Albania, and there is no, how do we say this? There is no love lost, I believe, between these two countries off the football pitch. So when you look at, and this is the political science major in me for this particular matchup, just so you know going in. So if you don't have a dog in the hunt and you're looking for a match to just kind of dive into, and this is from our friends at the Wikipedia, by the way, that the bastion of journalistic integrity that they are. Albania-Poland relations are diplomatic relations, obviously, between the two. Poland was the first Slavic nation to recognize Kosovo as an independent entity. However, the relationship between the two nations is lower than usual. Nonetheless, the two countries have been working closer since the fall of communism in 1989. There has been a strong renewal of relationship between two nations. Stanislav Zuber, a mid-20th century Polish geologist, was the author of the first extensive geological map of Albania, which is still in use throughout Albania today. After Albania split from the Soviet bloc, Albanian-Polish relations came to a halt after the fall of communism. However, they were resuscitated with considerable contribution by the foundation of the Albanian-Polish Friendship Society, which was created by Albanians who had studied abroad in Poland. Today, the shared experience of communist rule is a source of shared understanding, in quotation marks. In 2016, the first economic forum between Poland and Albania was held. 2019, an earthquake struck Albania at the request of the Albanian government. Poland, in late December, sent 4 firefighter teams to the country, 500 field beds in earthquake aid. Poland joined the EU in 2004. Albania is a candidate for EU accession. Kosovo, where a region where Albanians form the majority, declared its independence from Serbia back in February of 2008. Poland recognized it 9 days later. While Albania was one of the earliest nations to recognize Kosovo due to common culture, Poland was the first Slavic country to do so. However, in September of 2008, President of Poland, Lech Kaczynski, stated the original cause of the 2008 South Ossetia War was not the Georgian operation, but the recognition of Kosovo's independence, and that he would block attempts to establish diplomatic relations of Poland with Kosovo at ambassadorial level. However, the government has not proposed to send an ambassador to Pristina. Nonetheless, Poland had 274 troops as of July of 2009, serving in Kosovo as peacekeepers in the NATO-led Kosovo force. Originally, there were 800. Then you have Poland being a strong supporter of Albania's accession into the EU. In a bilateral meeting, you had Jacek Shaputovic stating that Poland strongly supports Albania's membership in the EU. So there is history, there is economic ties. Albania has emerged as a major tourist destination for Polish tourists, doubling since in 2016 to reach 116,000. Poland is in the top 10 sources of foreign tourists in Albania. For the first 11 months of 2018, that number had grown to stand at 152,000. So there is a relationship between the two, and depending how far back you go in the process, you either as a Pole like Albania, or you have issues with Albania, Kosovo at all. So just if you were looking for some history attached to a matchup, you have that. Poland a minus 143, Albania is a plus 450, and the draw is a plus 260. That gets us to Slovakia and Kosovo. So Slovakia and Kosovo, and checking their relations, when you have those two, I mean, once again, you had in October of 24, Slovakia closed its liaison office in Kosovo. Kosovo's declaration of independence from Serbia was enacted on 17 February 2008. All 11 representatives of the Serb minority boycotted the proceedings. International reaction was mixed, once again, courtesy of our friends at the Wikipedia. And the international community continues to be divided on the issue of the international recognition of Kosovo. Slovakia's reaction to the 2008 Declaration of Independence is one of non-recognition. So if at times if at times you do not decide you still have made a choice. Yes. So there you go. So if you still have if you have not made a choice, you have still made a choice. And so you have Slovakia non-recognition of a declaration of independence, given indications the stance could change in the future. Well, my stance could change in the future if I backed up my chair a foot. And so the relations or lack thereof between Kosovo and Slovakia, right now it is non-recognition, dating back to 2008. So that's another match that you might need to keep an eye on just for the sake of crowds, separation, and politics attached. Slovakia obviously favored at home at a plus 129, draws a plus 210, and Kosovo is a plus 250. Ukraine and Sweden. Ukraine is an underdog, and I doubt this is being played in Ukraine, but we will find out. At a plus 225, draws a plus 220. Sweden is a plus 129. Domestic play in the Ukraine, remember, is being played in Poland. We'll see where this match is being played as well. Wales, Bosnia-Herzegovina. Wales favored at home at a minus 139. Bosnia and Herzegovina is a plus 400, draws a plus 270. 6 o'clock is the beginning of the Intercontinental Playoffs in Mexico. Bolivia and Suriname. Bolivia favored at a plus 125. Suriname a plus 240. Draw is a plus 210. And at 11 o'clock, New Caledonia and Jamaica. Jamaica is a minus 2,000 against New Caledonia. New Caledonia is a plus 3,300 to win. And your draw is a plus 1,200. So those are your matchups, all 10 of them today. And once again, those get you closer to what's going on in the midweek or the early part of the week next week when we finally get the grid filled out. So World Cup playoff, 4 paths, semifinals today, finals on Tuesday. One-legged semifinals, then a final, and this is Europe. So playoff path A, there will be a test later on. Yes, absolutely true, Alex. Thank you very much. And I'm glad that you caught that reference. Tickets, by the way, were too expensive, so I did not get tickets. Semifinal, Italy, Northern Ireland. Semifinal, Wales, Bosnia-Herzegovina. Those two winners will square off on March 31st for a 7:45 kick. Winner of playoff path A goes in. Wales, Bosnia, and Herzegovina. Italy, Northern Ireland. Playoff path B, Ukraine, Sweden, Poland, Albania. Those two winners square off. Playoff path C, Turkey, Romania, Slovakia, Kosovo. Those two winners square off. Playoff path D, Denmark, North Macedonia, Czech Republic, Republic of Ireland. Those winners square off once again March 31st, 7:45 European time kick. So for us right now, until they spring forward, you're only looking at a 4-hour time difference instead of 5. So you had the pots and how the paths were decided. Every path includes a team from each of the 4 seeding pots, pots 1 through 3, decided by November's FIFA World Rankings. Pot 4, the 4 countries qualifying through their Nations League performance. Winner of pot 1 versus pot 4 gets the winners of pot 2 and 3. There will be a test later on. And once again, the pots, pot 1, Italy, Ukraine, Turkey, and Denmark. Pot 2, Wales, Slovakia, Poland, Czech Republic. Pot 3, Kosovo, Republic of Ireland, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Albania. Pot 4, Romania, Northern Ireland, Sweden, and North Macedonia. First time 16 European teams are playing at the World Cup, once again to the 50% increase in the size of the tournament. 12 of those 16 reserved for UEFA qualifying group winners, the other 4 coming through the playoffs. 12 group runners-up, joined by 4 teams, finished outside the top 2, who were the best performers, in quotation marks, in the 2024-25 Nations League. And this was where we got into the discussion about our friends from San Marino. If San Marino had found a way and they'd gotten a result here or there, they could have been in this discussion this late in the game. And so, Group A, Germany qualified, which sent Slovakia and Northern Ireland over. Group B, Switzerland qualified, Kosovo and Sweden moved over. Scotland qualified out of Group C, Denmark moved over. France qualified, Ukraine moved over. Spain qualified, Turkey moved over. Portugal qualified, the Republic of Ireland moved over. Netherlands qualified, Poland moved over. Austria qualified, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Romania moved over. Norway qualified Italy into the playoff. Belgium qualified Wales, North Macedonia over. England qualified Albania over. Croatia qualified Czech Republic over. And so Wales and Northern Ireland have been drawn in the same playoff path, which means at least one of them will not qualify. Nations League teams, once again, were decided first by number of points won by group winners, from the top tier down to the fourth tier. 4 additional playoff spots filled by 4 of the 14 nations group winners. And so right now, 42 teams have qualified. You have 4 that have to be determined. And so that's where we are right now, starting at 2:45 in the afternoon. Well, in some time zones. So 3:45 Eastern, 2:45 in God's time zone, just ask the boss. That's when the process starts. So today, your winners advance. Then they play on Tuesday in Europe. But then once again, New Caledonia, Jamaica, Bolivia, Suriname, those are the intercontinentals, and that is part of the process that you will have going forward, and that will line itself up in Mexico, and we'll keep an eye on that too. But those are your juice boxes there, and that's how all of this stuff got decided and figured out, to where you have 42 qualified, 4 teams remain of the 46 that are on the board. So 40 final 2 filled through the Intercontinental Playoff, but the 4 European slots are today and Tuesday. You'll know half your answers heading into Tuesday. Tuesday, you'll have 43 through 46 figured out. Intercontinental Playoff will be in Mexico, and that gives you 47 and 48. And yes, there is a special place in our hearts for New Caledonia to pull the upset. So that is what you're looking at there when it comes to keeping an eye on things. Try to give you a little bit of the political discussion that's attached to it, and let you know where things stand and where things are with with particular teams that might be tied to each other when it comes to European football. So 77 days away. It is crazy to think that in 77 days that you will have a cup that the world is chasing after, starting June 11th at Mexico City Stadium, by the way. Not to be confused with Guadalajara Stadium, but those 2 games will be on day number 1. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 10 o'clock in the afternoon, all the pomp circumstance that is attached to it. And so we get closer and closer and closer to having a full 48-team field. Now, news of the day, and we had a piece of history last night in the NWSL, and it goes to the Denver Summit. Denver got their win last night in Gotham, and it is the first time ever that they are on the board with a W. So it is at Red Bull Arena, Harrison, New Jersey. Sorry, SI, whomever is the main sponsor now. But anyway, first full win for Denver Summit, and they get 2 goals on the board in the second half, and they go on to win it 2-0 over Gotham. Washington and Utah had a 1-1 draw last night. And for Washington, once again, they're still trying to kind of get the engine turned over. Bernal had a goal in the 18th in front of a crowd of just over 9,000. And for Utah, they had an equalizer in the 84th, and that would be your end result. Washington and Utah sharing the spoils at a 1-1 draw. Once again, we mentioned Denver with their win 2-0 over Gotham. The first goal on the board by Kussler in the 58th minute was a nice piece of build-up by Denver, but then an awful giveaway by Ann-Katrine Berger at the back, and it was a goal 15 minutes later that would end up being the 2-0 decider, as you end up with Flint getting credit for the goal and just an awful giveaway by Ann-Katrine Berger. And so Denver gets their first ever win on the road, 2-0 over Gotham. Orlando, big win over Chicago last night at Martin Stadium. Right now they're playing at Northwestern. I wish they would play there. I really do. I know that they're going to play at the 78, but the Northwestern Medicine Field at Martin Stadium. For those of you that don't know, this is where Northwestern played while their $800 million facility was being built. And it's a great little venue right on the lake. And you had a crowd of just over 1,800 there last night. Yes, I know in Evanston it's probably a little difficult to get to, but it's a great idea. Barbara Bonda scored in the 13th. Ovalle scored 9 minutes later. And you end up with Anderson scoring in the 35th. So literally you had 3 goals in the first 35 minutes, and you were pretty much done at that point. So Barbara Bonda with a goal, and you end up with Jacqueline Ovalle with a goal, and you end up with Hannah Anderson getting the third. And so it was 3 on the board by the 35th minute, and that would pretty much do it. 3 goals on the board for Orlando. They get the win at Martin Stadium last night, where Chicago is playing in the short term, and it's full points for Orlando. Seattle gets the big win at home in Spokane, so home away from home, Spokane, against Kansas City. Kind of a stunner, really, that you end up with 3 goals on the board once again by the 33rd minute, in front of a crowd of just over 3,000 in Spokane last night, because once again, Lumen is trying to install its grass for the cup the world is chasing after. So that means that Seattle is on the road. That means that Reign are playing in Spokane, and they would also, I think they also have some matches slated for Starfire, but Seattle gets 3 goals in the first 33 minutes, and that's it. Goal in the 18th, goal in the 26th, and a goal in the 33rd. And in the 18th, it was a goal by Angarad James Turner to get things started. Then you had a goal by Brittany Ratcliffe, and then the third goal was by Maddie Mercado, who was up top getting the start. Jess Fishlock was playing behind in a 4-2-3-1 for Seattle. And Laura Harvey, going into this match, was kind of concerned about the injuries that she had, and came out with a starting lineup of Dickey and net back 4 of Curry, McLernan Mason, and Sofia Huerta. 2 holdings with Meza and James Turner, Ratcliffe, Fishlock, and Adames, and then Mercado up top in a 4-2-3-1. And you get 3 goals in the first 33 minutes, and it's pretty much all she wrote. Kansas City, by the way, they're still having injury issues somewhat, and so you had Gianna Paul starting up top in front of Haley Hopkins, Allie Sentner, and Penelope Hocking. You had Kesley Branson starting in holding midfield with Katie Scott. Your back 4 was Lainey Rouse, Elizabeth Ball, Kayla Sharples, and Izzy Rodriguez, with Lorena in net. And so big win for Seattle, holding off Kansas City, because we all know that Kansas City is going to be charging at some point. So if you're going to get them now. Seattle did exactly that last night, winning 3-0 at home. And so big win for them there. San Diego also in the other late game over Portland by the score of 3-1 at the Murph Dragon. And it was a goal by Dudinha in the second. And then you end up with an equalizer 6 minutes later. So 6 minutes later, Portland gets a goal on the board, and it was Pietra Tordin getting the goal to tie things up at 1. Then you end up with goals by spit it out, John, Leah Godfrey. And then you also end up with a goal by Melanie Barcinas, who came in the 77th. 5 minutes later, she scores. And so San Diego goes on to win that one 3-1 in front of a crowd of just under 8,500 at the Murph Dragon last night. So big wins, a lot of offense on the board last night. It seemed like 3 was the magic number for San Diego, for Orlando, and for Seattle. But Denver gets their first ever win last night in the NWSL. So nicely done for the Denver Summit. Next matchup in league play is Friday night at BMO as Angel City takes on Houston on the 27th. And that is Friday night on Prime for those of you that have your guides all squared away. So Friday night on Prime, it's Angel City and Houston. All right. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, before we get into our friends Nino Torres and Niko Moreno coming up in hour number 2 in the Power Hour. And getting into what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, obviously, I'm going to be at some point trying to figure out how I can listen/watch the play-ins. International friendly on the Deuce at 4 o'clock, Brazil and France. FS1 looks like it's going to be the place for at least some of the action. They have Wales, Bosnia-Herzegovina at 3:45, and then the 2 intercontinentals with Bolivia, Suriname at 6, and New Caledonia, Jamaica at 11. FS2 has friendlies. They've got one going on right now, plus another one at 7:30 with Colombia and Croatia. FS2 has Turkey and Romania at 1 o'clock, Poland and Albania at 3:45. ESPN Deportes is running the Brazil-France friendly at 4. FIFA Plus has 2 more friendlies going on. One of them has already been played. Aruba and Macau. That's a deep dive. And then Tanzania, Liechtenstein at 10:30. Fox ONE has the 2 friendlies. They have Nations League. Nations League is going on. Gibraltar and Latvia. And then they have 5 of the World Cup qualifying matches on Fox ONE. Fox Soccer Plus has your Nations League match. Peacock has the World Cup qualifying, by the way, the 3 matches that are being simulcast: Italy, Northern Ireland, Bolivia, Suriname, New Caledonia, Jamaica. VeeX has all of the World Cup qualifying matches and 3 friendlies, 2 at 1 o'clock and 1 at 11. Peacock has Super League. DC and Tampa's at 7 o'clock, and that's your rundown of what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important, helps them out, helps us out, helps you out, adding more matches to everything you're already watching. You get BN, you get all the BNs, which means you get AFCON, you get CAF, you get CAF Champions League, you get the Polish League, the French League, and the Turkish League. You get tie-ins to Tigo Sports. You get tie-ins to CATV. You get Copa Libertadores and Sudamericana. You get a lot of the action in South America with Paraguay A and B. Colombia B League yesterday had Mejoras Patatas incident, and it also had a downpour. And by the time the match was late in the second half, you had puddles, and the ball, if it was going through those puddles, would stop in the puddles, and it was a fun watch, but probably not fun to participate in. You get Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. You get TVV out of Venezuela if you want, but if you have a certain cable system and you have the Spanish-speaking package there, it's already on it. And you also end up with CDO and For the Fans and a lot of other stuff, and that is at Fanatis, where you get Argentina, a lot of South America, AFCON, CAF Champions League, and all the things. fntz.co/soccer down here. 1 subscription, 1 home. Fanatis. Now, gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we end hour number 1 with odds and ends and everything else that's going on. Good morning to Alex and Abby, and to David, and to Bart, who is who apparently was aware that there were World Cup qualifiers today. Vinny Jr. is saying that Brazil cannot be a favorite for the World Cup. Rodri refuses to rule out a move to Real Madrid. And Lens match, and this was another thing that I wanted to get into before we had it on the list yesterday. The Lens match has been moved to give PSG rest for the matchup with Liverpool in the Champions League. Ligue 1 has postponed the title clash between Lens and PSG, set for today. Initially set for April 11th. The Lens PSG game fell in between, so it was postponed today to allow PSG better prep for their quarterfinal against Liverpool. Initially set for April 11, Lens and PSG fell in between defending champ PSG's 2 quarterfinal legs against Liverpool at home 3 days before and away 3 days later. And this is from the AP. Now played on May 13, falling between the last 2 rounds of the French Championship. Ligue 1 is enjoying a close title race. Lens 1 point behind PSG, and they have played 1 match more. Strasbourg and Brest on April 12 also postponed by the LFP because it landed between Strasbourg's Conference League quarterfinal with Mainz. LFP said in a statement that its board of directors, quote, unanimously decided, end quote, to accept requests made by PSG and Strasbourg, adding that the decision, which did not need approval from Lens or Brest, was made in the wider interest of French football. LFP said the decisions are in line with the strong strategic direction of the board of directors to enable France to retain its 5th place in the UEFA coefficient index, which allows it to obtain 4 places in Champions League. Lens vehemently rejected moving the fixtures, saying in a statement this week that Ligue 1 was being relegated, quote, to accommodate the European ambitions of certain parties, end quote. There was precedent. Marseille 2 years ago moving a game against Nice due to Marseille's Europa League quarterfinal against Benfica. Lens president Joseph Ogourlian said on a LinkedIn post he had few illusions about the outcome. Lens director Benjamin Parrott questioned if PSG's request would have happened in other circumstances. He asked L'Equipe yesterday, quote, would this same debate take place if PSG had a 15-point lead? Maybe they would just rotate their squad. The LFP, generally speaking, compares itself to England, Italy, Spain, and Germany, but none of those leagues function in this way. Well, I mean, England kind of does. They'll push fixtures of certain clubs to the back of the schedule. They may not they have reoriented the schedule in the past, but probably not to this extreme in this context. Parrott said, Lens, we're not going to ask the French League to modify the dates. We'll take the series of matches, but without the same depth of squad, it's unfair. Lens is now going to play 3 games in 8 days during a period of April 17 through 24. Toulouse in Ligue 1, Brest in the French Cup semis on April 24. Game scheduled on a Friday rather than over the weekend, which would have afforded Lens more rest. PSG advisor Luis Campos said his team's eventual progress in the Champions League was vital. Postponement of Lens and PSG has advantages not only for PSG but also for French football, he said on RMC Radio yesterday. I have nothing against Lens. The point is to be in the best possible position to represent France well in Europe, which needs it. Once again, referring to the coefficient, which was what was referred to by the LFP front office. England sent 6 into the Champions League this season due to a huge coefficient. France's 5th spot potentially under pressure from Portugal. So the LFP moved the date. Lens isn't happy, and you have PSG getting their schedule the way that they would like their schedule. So transfer talk. Once again, Arsenal is in for Kavicka Kvaratskhelia from PSG. According to the Independent, the Arsenal is seeing the 25-year-old as someone who could provide more creativity. Scored 11 and 35 this season. Any transfer would cost upwards of €80 million. Manchester United lining up a move for Newcastle left back Lewis Hall, according to Sky. Been impressed with the 21-year-old following impressive performances this season, viewed as an alternative to signing Eintracht Frankfurt's Nathaniel Brown. They're also expected to strengthen their forward line with 19-year-old RB Leipzig winger Jan Diomande and Everton's Iliman Ndiaye, 2 of the names on their short list. Bayern Munich set to stand firm amid interest in Michael Olise from Liverpool, Real Madrid, and Manchester City. It is Manchester City and Arsenal among several teams looking at Hearts defender Alfie Osborne. Team Talk reporting scouts from both clubs present to watch the 17-year-old play for Scotland's U19s in the 3-0 defeat against Italy in the U19 Euro qualifiers, and the deal could be squared away for less than £250,000. Hearts want to keep him. Reported Osborne isn't planning to stay beyond the summer. Dortmund interested in Hoffenheim striker Fisnik Aslani. Florian Plettenberg from Sky Germany says BVB sees him as a potential option if Serhou Guirassy leaves in the summer. Competition from Bayern Munich monitoring the situation, along with several other clubs. Aslani has a release clause in his contract worth in the region of €27 million. He's also been linked with Barcelona as they look for a long-term replacement for Robert Lewandowski. Al-Ittihad have resumed work on the deal for Mo Salah. Al-Qadsiya are the only other Saudi Arabian club with finances and ambition to rival that. Al-Ittihad also interested in signing Casemiro on a free next year, but the Saudi Arabian club first has to make a decision on Fabinho's future. Barcelona considering an attacking shakeup, which would include listening to offers for Ferran Torres and the arrival of up to 2 new forwards. And we mentioned Real Madrid concerned that Caroline Weir and Naomi Feller will not renew, and they're also keen to sign Chelsea Colombian striker Mayra Ramirez. Vinicius Jr. closing in on signing a new deal with Real Madrid. Barca internally discussing a move for Bernardo Silva, according to AS. Marcus Thuram from Inter Premier League clubs are interested, but the offer is going to have to be €70 million to land him, Corriere dello Sport. Marc Casado from Barcelona on the radar of 3 clubs in the league we don't talk about. Internazionale challenging Manchester City and Chelsea in the battle to sign River Plate winger Ian Subiabra. Chelsea keen on a 16-year-old from Marseille, Said Ramadnia. That's from the 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Newcastle looking to sign Lewis Miley to a new deal, despite interest from other clubs. Fabrizio Romano there. Como among the teams in Serie A lining up a move to sign Juve winger Filip Kostic, who's expected to become a free agent in the summer. Celtic want to sign on loan Bournemouth right back Julian Araujo permanently in the summer, Football Insider. Juve made progress in contract talks with Dusan Vlahovic, who could sign a 1 or a 2-year extension with the Bianconeri. That's from Gazzetta dello Sport. Wolves are leading Celtic and Rangers in the race for BK Hacken midfielder Silas Anderson. Liverpool have been in contact with former Real Madrid coach Xabi Alonso, who would be willing to take over at Anfield should the Reds decide to part ways with current coach Arne Slot. And that would not necessarily be a surprise, considering if you had the rundown as it was, I would have anticipated that perhaps the dismissal of Arne Slot, if you weren't going to dismiss him after losing 6 or 7, if you weren't going to dismiss him with the rough patches they've had, that you were going to hang on to him for the season in and of itself, and then come up with a decision on the future of Arne Slot. But so Liverpool's been in contact, according to Bild, with Xabi Alonso. So keep an eye out on that at the end of the year. Once again, Liverpool is at the tail end of that chase group trying to get into European football. Table right now as it stands, Liverpool's in 5th, but there's a 5-point gap between them and Aston Villa. Liverpool right now is in the Europa League slot. And you could have, if things fall certain ways, you could have an extraordinary number of clubs from the Premier League, almost half of the league, in European football, either Champions League, Europa, or Europa Conference. Because if you have certain teams that win, then you open up slots for others. And with the way things would be going, say, I forget the math off the top of my head, but if you have the teams in Champions League are locked in place. So you go to Europa League, and then if Villa won or Nottingham Forest won in Europa, then that would create another spot. Say Villa wins, you create another spot there. Then in the Conference League, if you had Crystal Palace win there, then that would create another opening. So all of the fun begins as we go. Now, hour number two. We know what that means. We know that our guest is properly hydrated. He's been up since probably the crack of before dawn 30, making these incredibly fattening desserts. It's our buddy from FuboTV, Nino Torres, where we go yellow as we go fully loaded on a Thursday. Sir, I have not looked at the list. It's good to see you.
Yes, sir. Yellow. Soccer down here, fans. I'm been up since like 5 a.m. Working on these desserts, and but I love it, man. It's my other passion, one of my passions. First off, it's soccer, but the bakery thing is my new real thing here, brother, and I'm so happy for it.
Gold belly. We need to figure out a way. Last week, I went on my rant to try to figure out how to get that stuff from Peru up here. We're going to figure this out. And we are going to showcase Nino the Baker's desserts. They will be here. It will be my life's work to get them from the right-hand side of the screen to the left-hand side of the screen so I can show the people what is going on with all of the man and all of his cooking. Follow Nino the Baker on the IG or the Insta or the Gram, by the way, kids. Okay. I have 4 topics, and one of them is World Cup Chronicles. Obviously, we're gonna end with that. But I did want feedback on a player that Atlanta United was linked to from Gremio that does have a history in in Peruvian football.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to find out, just for the sake of folks to understand what this individual would bring to the table. And I'm trying to find out who it was. It was a 6, and I'm trying to Eric Noriega. Yeah. And so Eric Noriega was linked to Atlanta United early in the week, and Gremio was looking for basically twice the price tag that Atlanta United was apparently allegedly looking to do. Transfermarkt has Noriega's value at about 3.5 to 4 million euro. And it was reported in some circles in South America that Gremio was looking for 8, which is irrational. And, a number one particular section of negotiating is like, you're going to sit there and you're going to go, well, I want 9 dozen of Nino's, I want 9 dozen of Nino's cupcakes. Well, I can only get you 3. Well, how about if you get me 6? And I give you another week or 2 to put them together. Okay, that'll work. So I think that's where they might be in the negotiation process. Gremio's like, I want 9 dozen of Nino's cupcakes. and Atlanta United's like, well, we can only get you 3 or 4. So what would Noriega bring to the table from the time that you were able to see him in Peru?
He's a complete player, man. Johnny, if Atlanta signs Noriega, there's one thing, right? He's just arrived to Gremio last year. He doesn't even have one full year in Gremio. Okay, so I don't know, from the career standpoint, for the player, I don't know if it's the right move right now. But of course, they put the money down on the table. It's like, you're gone. There's no conversation about that. But I think it's too early. I think it's too early. I think he could get another full season at Gremio, and then they couldn't get even more money for him. But do you have the age for Noriega? I don't recall. I think he's 23.
He is. Oh, you were so close. 24.
24. Okay, never mind. So forget about the next year. When they reach the 24-year-old age, it's almost impossible. I mean, almost impossible from a player to go to the big leagues when you reach 24. 23, 22, you can get more. The Grammy could get more money for them. So if now the Grammy is saying 8, the transfer market says 3.5, which is what they paid. I think they paid 3 for him. So they made a deal at 5. In Atlanta, you get an absolute complete midfielder. He can play. He had a big soccer IQ, and what he does is he's an elegant player. All right, he's not the pit bull that is. Oh yeah, he's not going anywhere. No, he's an elegant player. He will tackle when he tackles, but once he recovers the ball, how fast he gets into the next play, that's what you get from Noriega. That's the bread and butter that you get from Noriega. You got a progression passing. You got a panoramic views. You got great connection when it starts the build up process for the team, and I love it. He's probably one of the best Peruvian now at this moment.
Okay, and because the name came across, and we were like, yeah, I got a source. I'm gonna dig up and see what kind of intel I can get, and that's why we bring you into this discussion on this topic. Okay. Topic number 1, dirty war in Liga Uno between Alianza and Universitario. And you haven't even said a word.
It's probably, Johnny, this is the most ridiculous season ever in the history of Peruvian soccer. The most ridiculous season. How they can come up with these situations, I don't know, but I do know. I mean, not because it's Alianza, not because I have this badge right here that says University of Porto, not because of that, but the truth of the matter is they started this war back in 2023. They started it, okay, first off, because they present an official complaint on Alex Valera in 2023 in a game that they didn't even play. All right. So they suspended Valera for like, I think it's 4, 5, 6 games. All right. Of course, one of these games he was gonna play against Alianza Lima. That's why they went for it. Okay. Yeah. So, but we have 1, not 2, not 3. It's 7 games into the competition, and we had 7 official complaints from Alianza Lima on Universitario de Porto. 7. And Universitario is like, all right, so you wanna fight? You want a war? Okay. For every single consent, we're gonna present 3. So you go to the disciplinary committee with 1 complaint, we're going with 3. Okay? And we got already set up all the complaints ready to fire. When you come up with 1, 3, oh, you got another one, I've got 3 more. This is a freak show, Johnny. This is a freak show. What is this? And the problem is that the rules that they set up for this year, they set them up on, when was that? On January. Okay, in January, allowed that set of rules allow the teams to present complaints on teams and on games that they were not playing. That's the the sum of all fears, and that it's in there. But it's ridiculous. Let me ask you this, Johnny. I don't recall this on MLS, but is it something like that in MLS that you can complain because Atlanta United? Hey, that game between Columbus Crew and Cincinnati, that player was not properly dressed or whatever. Would Atlanta United do that?
Atlanta United wouldn't mess in hell is real, brother. They wouldn't play that game.
You know, it's why? The question is why? Why would you do that, Johnny? Tell me, man. I don't understand. Do you understand this? No, right?
You're putting your opponent on their heels. It's what you're having them think about other things. You sit there and you get them off their game, and then that way it gives you a chance to pounce. Because I was looking at the standings after the first 8. And Alianza Lima and Los Chancas, they
number
are
1. You're on top.
Yeah.
You're winning. You're leading the competition. Why are you doing this? Just play ball, brother. Play ball.
Well, I think if you look at it from that perspective, if you eliminate the competition that you're worried about, I don't think Alianza Lima is worried about Los Chancas and Cienciano del Cusco.
No.
So if you're worried about Universitario, who's 5 points behind you, and maybe, Cristal and maybe UTC, you focus on them because you know you can handle Los Chancas and Cienciano. I think that's why you do that.
So this is the thing, Johnny. When the big difference between Alianza and Universitario is that when I
think somebody's trying to call him. That's what happens. Uh-oh. That's crazy. That's wild. I'm going to put him in the... Nino, you with us? That's wild. All right, I'm going to pull Nino back for a second. Okay, so he froze. That's why. All right. So I'm guessing somebody called him, and that's what happened. So when people dial in, or maybe it was Alianza Lima. I think Alianza Lima probably ducked in, and they were hearing the topic of conversation, and then they ducked in to disturb the peace and let Nino. I think that this is another one of those Alianza Lima things where Alianza Lima is like, we can't have people talking like that. So I think that's what happened. But yeah, so we were getting into the conversation of Liga Uno, and if you're the guy at the top, then you are completely and totally insecure about yourself. I think you're just insecure about yourself. I think that's what happened. So I was explaining to folks that you are completely and totally insecure if you're Alianza Lima right now. You are insecure about who you are.
I'm back. I'm back.
Yes, you are.
All right. So, this is the deal, right? So,
there we go. Okay. All right. So, all right, give it to me. There we go. Hit me.
we're good.
Yep, you're good.
No, we're good.
Yep.
All right. So every time the big difference is when Alianza is on top, they can't handle the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
They just can't handle the pressure. It's historically that's their thing. They fall apart. They mess up. They do something wrong in the last 4 or 5 rounds. But when Universitario is on top, they'll help you, brother. Take him out of the number 1 spot.
Well,
because you're just can remove those guys from the top. That's this thing. That's the big difference. And they're feeling the pressure. And it's the most recent ridiculous one, Johnny, right? So do you when a player's transferred, right? You sell the player, you get the rights, get 80% for the club, 20% for the player. 15% for the player, 5% for the agent and blah blah blah. But when there is a loan, you don't get nothing. So Belgrano, I mean, Alianza sold Ryan Reina to Belgrano, right? And Belgrano now is loaning Reina to Universitario. Now, Alianza is complaining because they're not getting any money from that loan. You're not getting money from the loans, brother. You don't know the rules. Are you serious? Yeah, this is how ridiculous this is. Like, whatever we do, this is going to be a complaint.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I figured that when you started talking about Alianza Lima, they were the ones who got into the line and bumped you off. I figured that's what happened.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, they ain't messing around. Okay, topic number 2, sir. Come on, Bolivia. Let's win this WC playoff. And that there is some vested local interest here because of Efren Morales and his time at Atlanta United. He's now up at CF Montreal. But so there is interest as the field gets closer. And I figured that you're there, you're looking at Bolivia and you're sitting there going, yeah, for the sake of everybody, for the sake of South American football, we got to root for Bolivia in this one. So am I wrong with that assessment?
I mean, you should be rooting for Bolivia, man. Why not, man? Why not? And I think they my computer back up now. You know, switch, or you want to stay here, Johnny?
We're good. Stay here.
All right, cool. Let me close it up in here. And all right, so this is the thing, right? So every time everybody talks about Bolivia not being able to play decent soccer when they are out of their 15,000 feet above the sea level stadiums, right? it's a lot, man. It's a lot. It's 15,000 feet, man. It's ridiculous, man. But anyway, I think they have a chance. I think they have a serious chance. With all due respect, Suriname, we don't know you, okay? And we don't want you to be in the World Cup, okay? We got enough with Curaçao and Fiji Islands and Timbuktu coming into this World Cup, so we don't need more. All right, we need real teams from CONMEBOL. So hopefully they get it done. It's gonna be at 6 p.m. tonight in Monterrey. It's in the altitude, so a little bit of a advantage for the Bolivianos. And hopefully they get it right, man. Hopefully they get it right. The last time that they went into a World Cup, it was in the U.S. So. But that team was massive. That team was absolutely massive. With Echeverri and everyone else, that was real soccer that we were playing back then. And then you got Echeverri into the MLS, right? Remember?
Yeah. Marco went to DC, didn't he?
Yeah. And they won the title in the first with DC, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was back in the early days of all the things when it came to MLS. And I just remember Echeverri and his hair. I remember that lettuce that he had when he was playing.
I used to wear that same, man. It's the mullet, huh? The mullet.
And that.
Tell me you want the mullet, Johnny. Tell me you want the mullet.
Oh, I was party in the back, brother. That's how it was when I was growing up. It was business in the front and party in the back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know it. You know it.
That's why they called it a biff pib, a BIFPIB. They called it a biff pib, business in the front, party in the back. That's why they didn't call it a mullet. They called it a biff pib, is what they did when I was a kid. All right, so Bolivia is favored, by the way, heading into that matchup.
Yes,
number
sir.
3, the main reason why Porto is back at the top in Portugal. Why, sir, is this the case?
This is crazy, right? You know that victory meets luck is what happens when victory meets preparation. Okay, and the way that this team prepared for this season, it was the most accurate, the most wise transfer market in the history of the league since I'm calling it. All right, since 2019, I think this is the most productive transfer market for a team in Portugal. And the thing is, they first off, they got Farioli. They got the coach. And then they got the center backs. You got to build the team from the back, right? You got the two best center backs in the game in Portugal. And of course, you got your goalie, man. Your goalie was already there. Diogo Costa is the number one goalie in Portugal. And then we were talking with my Portuguese friends, and they were saying they might be number one in the conversation of the number one in the world, Diogo Costa. Why we don't talk about a lot of Diogo Costa, because he plays in Porto, and this is, I don't know, but we will see him in the World Cup. We will see him in the World Cup. But back to Porto, they spend a lot of money even in the transfer window. Okay, it's not like they made big splashes. No, they made small moves, smart purchases. Right? It's not about out there and going buying a Lamborghini when you are playing in the jungle, right? Lamborghini is not going to do anything for you in the jungle. You need a 4x4. You need an F-150. What you need, and that's exactly what they did. Okay, we don't need that. Give me an F-150. Give me a Corolla. Give me pieces that they're going to work, that are reliable, that they're effective, and that's exactly what Porto did. And the other side of the game, right, with Benfica and Sporting. Benfica went ahead. I mean, Sporting went ahead and signed two players, all right, two Greek players. By the way, my Sportingistas are not happy with the Greeks anymore. We don't bring any more Greek players. They spent $35 million euros, 35 million on a striker and on a winger. I mean, right back. Ioannidis and Bayanidis. And they didn't even play that many minutes. I don't know how many minutes combined Bayanidis and Ioannidis played. No, with Lucho, they got it right. With Lucho Suarez, they got it right. They spent 22 mil, and the guy's top striker in the league. That's fine. He's making Sportingistas forget about Gyökeres. But that's it. That's it, Johnny. They didn't have any. They needed support in the left back position. They needed support in the midfield, because Morita and Hillman, they've been on and off this season. They were not as consistent as last year, and they just blew out the money, 35 mil on players that you don't need. And then Benfica, the only big signing that they have was Richard Rios, and the Colombiano wasn't. He finally now, until at the end of the season, is leading the way. He's getting involved in the action and being the Richard Rios that we know from the Colombian national team. But with Surikov, it's like, okay, a couple of goals here, a couple of goals there, but not the real influence in the game that you needed. That's why they went ahead and brought back Rafa Silva from Turkey. Okay, and now Rafa is getting more minutes than this guy that you paid. I think if you pay 15 or 20, I don't remember for Surikov. But anyway, in the big picture is that one. They won the title before the tournament even started. That's how Porto. They won the title there, signing in the smart way, not in the compulsive way.
Well, and so I've got the list, and let me know if this is right. Joao Costa was signed in the offseason. He was brought in from Australia. Jakob Kivior is in on loan until June. Javier Perez is injured, but he came in from Udinese.
Okay.
You mentioned Jan Bednarek, who came in from Southampton. That was over the summer. $7.5 million on the transfer. Dominic Perpich came in from Hajduk Split for $4.5 million. That happened in July. Thiago Silva came in New Year's Day on a free.
Free
from Fluminense. Alberto Costa came in July for 15 from Juve. Rosario came in from Nice in August for 3 3/4, $3.75 million. Froholt came from Copenhagen for 20 back in July. Fofana came in from Stade Rennais on loan, and that's a loan until the end of June. Gabri
Jenny,
Vega
how much
came,
for Projo? How much for Projo again?
it was 20 back in July. Yep.
That kid will work at least 80 million in a couple of years, man. I'm telling you.
Gabri Vega joined from Al-Akli for 15. That happened in June. Boreas Signs came in from Norwich for 13 and a third. That happened in July. Pietrzewski came in at January 7th from the Polish League for 8.
You gotta watch that kid, Johnny. You gotta watch that kid, Sepsky. It's the real deal. The real deal.
Jan Karamo came in from Without Club FC back in September, so that was a free. Mulfi came in on from loan from Nice, and that's until June. And then Luke de Jong, who's currently injured, came in from PSV Eindhoven in August on a free. So that's 1, 2, 4, 7, 10, 12, 14 dudes who came in, and you didn't really break the bank.
No. It was almost smart moves. You see, there what I think 3 or 4 players came in on a free. So I mean that's great business, man. That's how you do business in soccer, and especially nowadays that the numbers are just stratospheric, so you don't know how much you pay. So it's crazy, but I think that was it, man. And I mentioned a few names, right? I was talking about Fenderek and Kiver, the center backs, but that kid Froholt is just he's a genius, man. He's a genius. And the kid that they signed, Pietrzewski, back in January, I didn't see him in the first couple of games, right? Because we were not broadcasting, but I was lucky enough to call the last 3 games for Porto, and he scored in every single one of them. And the kid is relentless. He is fearless, and you can tell when sometimes these kids, right, looking like kids. He reminds a bit of just for the face, for the expression of Alex Soldier. He's just a kid, man. Don't let that face kid fool you, brother. That baby face will get a lot of goals, man. That's why I call him Oscar Targaryen, my boy Pietrzewski.
Yeah, the baby-faced assassin. So we'll keep an eye on that. Now, World Cup Chronicles, how we always end. The Totonero scandal and Paolo Rossi. Please explain yourself, sir.
All right. So no, in Italy, they're well known for pasta and for betting scandal.
Yes, sir, they are.
Yeah, right. And so back in 1980, there was a big scandal in the city. Who, by the way, ended up having AC Milan being relegated to Serie B, and everything was working well. They together the three pieces, three little sopranos of soccer in Italy, and but then when the business was going down, right, one of the partners, all right, I'm out, but I'm not only out. I'm going to call you out to the authorities because you maybe lose money, but you're going to lose everything else, brother. So they went ahead and complained about it. And where Paolo Rossi fits in this conversation, he was playing for Perugia at the time, and there was a game where he scored twice in the game. But then after that, nothing happens. They were like that. They were not playing anymore. They stopped playing after he scored the 2 goals. So because there was obviously money on the 2-2 score, right? But he said, he was called out to the trials and everything, and he said I was not part of it because I was in the room. I was in the room when the conversation happened, but I said no.
Okay.
But he was in there, and I'm not denying I was there. No, I was there. I mean, no, with these guys, and but he said no, I'm out. I'm not part of it. I'm not gonna be part of this. But anyway, in the end, the authorities say, you know what? We believe you, but you're going to be suspended. Okay? You're going to be suspended for 2 years.
Whoa.
And this was back in 1980. Okay, when we was playing for Perugia. So my Enzo, who was a head coach of Italy, he was a big fan of Paolo. By the way, he got him in the 1978 World Cup where Paolo scored 3 goals, and he was one of the best players in that World Cup. But the thing is, they needed him. They needed him, Paolo Rossi, for the World Cup in 1982. Right, so Paolo Rossi managed to came back right before. I mean, the World Cup was in June. He played like 3 games when he came back from suspension. 3 games after 2 years of not playing. And so result, Gary didn't play a goddamn minute of the past years. You coming with us? You coming with us? But the people, no. But what are you doing, Pablito? That's what they call him, right? Pablito, by the way, that's his nickname. Pablito. Pablito, he's not playing. He will play good. Just trust me. All right. So Paolo Rossi being the only player, listen to this, Johnny. Paolo Rossi is the only player in the history of the World Cup to win the Golden Boot, the Golden Ball, and the title. The only player in the history of the World Cup. I think Enzo Verso was right about calling him up.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think that is accurate. So what are you doing on your off weekend? What do you since you're not calling anything? What are you doing?
Baking, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Baking. Yeah, got a couple of birthdays coming up, and I'm happy because whew, man, this is great, gentlemen. I just landed another deal with another restaurant, so I'm not provided for that's my restaurant number 5. Now that I'm the provider, so let's go, brother. Let's go, Nino the Baker.
Fantastic, Nino the Baker on the IG. We got to work on this gold belly thing because we have to have the tres leches. We have to have the tres leches here in the studio. We got to make this work. We got to figure this out. Probably frozen, but we'll figure it out. Enjoy your baking. Enjoy the off week, and obviously we will catch up with you again this time next week, where we will discuss things. That's the official term, and we'll find out about Bolivia. We'll find out about Porto. We'll find out about all the things, and we'll find out about all those cupcakes that you keep waving in our faces every single week. Love you very much. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it, man.
There goes Nino Torres. We've got to get Gold Belly figured out. We've got to get this figured out. Quick note from ESPN Brazil, by the way, about our favorite owner. Botafogo has 5 days to settle the debt of 1.5 million real with the RJ government, the Rio de Janeiro government. The Justice of Rio ordered the citation of Botafogo SAF to pay within up to 5 days debts for unpaid taxes, which together total about 1.5 million real. Decision published this week stipulated that if the club does not cover the amount of freeze-on funds from Botafogo's accounts will be carried out. If no money is found in the SAF's financial assets, a search of properties was ordered so that attachment can be made. The debts relate to tax on the circulation of goods and services, which is a state tax. So our favorite owner continues to rock and roll. So that's your John Texter update for the day. You want to talk about folks that are fed up? You got Botafogo fans who are fed up. You got Atlanta United fans who are fed up. I'm sure that the front office is beyond fed up. And there's still 20 million plus interest on the table that is due on the Thiago Almada transfer. And so sooner or later, that'll be kick the can down the road, and it'll be a who me situation. So that's your John Texter update for the day. And yeah, as always, it's always something legal, and I just wonder if he has to enlist Brazilian lawyers in this case, or can he have international lawyers act on his behalf? So I guess we'll find that out sooner or later, because I don't know if there would be a domestic lawyer that would want to take up this case, unless it is a rival of Botafogo that you would try to stick it to somehow financially. But you're dealing with the tax man in Rio de Janeiro, and last time I checked, the tax man's pretty much undefeated. So if there aren't $1.5 million worth of funds available, then that means that they're going to property, and it probably means liens on property and another ban on spending and another ban on stuff involving any kind of transaction involving Botafogo and their future. So it is the final half hour of the show on Thursday, which means one thing. We go and check in with our buddy Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart. We find out how many cups of coffee he's had, and we find out how awake he is. Good morning, sir. Welcome to your Thursdays.
What's going on, John? How's it going?
You tell me. You're the one that's up first thing in the morning trying to help us out. I know that there's a lot of stuff that we need to get into. As I was discussing yesterday, there are topics that have carried over. There's stuff that we've got to figure out, and that is why we consult you, our Western Oracle, as he saw that it was a bit of a lag, and so he's going to try and recheck in, because I know he saw the return and he wasn't happy with it, and I was wondering if it was going to sort itself out. And the answer was a defiant no. And so he's going to log in. He's going to log back in and see if the signal is going to be any better with, I'm guessing that it's a Wi-Fi connection versus a hotspot connection there in the office of Niko Moreno. And so we will find out how he can be happier with a signal outbound as we go coming up here in just a little bit. And so we'll see if the signal is more to his liking here. And is the signal more to your liking? I believe it is.
Yes, I believe it is. There we go. Here we go. That's why I give you a little, little boxer move, because I could tell when the signal's lagging on me. But what's going on, John? What is up? SDH family, Atlanta. Everybody in the East Coast, everybody listens to your show. So nationwide, what's up? How's everybody doing?
We are bad at nationwide, quoting our friend ZZ Top from Texas. And that is how we always try to look at things. What I wanted to do this week was go over a couple of different topics. One of them we started in on yesterday, and it has to do with Sacramento and their project at the rail yards finally coming online. Apparently it's $1 billion, and it looks like that rail yards is going to be a thing. Finally, it's not going to be 12,000 seats. It's going to be 20. It's going to be the whole live, work, play thing. And there's going to be $1 billion investment, nothing to do with the city. It's all going to be from the tribe that is that is the majority partner of Sacramento Republic. And the thing that got me in this entire discussion was that Sacramento's media, they were looking at, and the mayor in Sacramento, they were looking at this as, hey, look what we're doing. We're building this, and, we're looking forward to the next steps. Everybody in their interviews and in their sound bites and in their paragraphs was sitting there thinking Major League Soccer, Major League Soccer. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, first off, I think that 20 is too small. But I thought that this was more of a play for USL Premier, for Wilton Rancheria, and for Republic than it would be toward Major League Soccer. Because by the time you're done, as I sit here and state my case to you, if you're going to spend $1 billion on the stadium and everything around it to build, live, work, play, then you're going to have to pay more than $500 million for an expansion fee, which was what San Diego brought to the table. So you're looking at bare minimum, before you hire one person, of investing almost $2 billion to bring Major League Soccer to Sacramento. And I don't know if Wilton Rancheria wants to bring all of that scratch to the table. I was thinking USL Premier. Everybody in the media and the mayor was thinking Major League Soccer. What did you think when you saw that the rail yards were finally going to be a thing?
I thought pretty much like you, that it was more of a USL play, and for a couple of reasons. One was the size of the stadium. Two was their particular fan base. when I've had the chance to cover their games here at Starfire, and that fan base travels as if they would, Timbers or, Rapids, Vancouver. They have a pretty solid fan base. It sounds like, or at least the fans that I've talked to, they don't feel the need to be validated by going into MLS, or that was the conversations that I've had with some of those fans. So everything that you're talking about in terms of that additional component of money in comparison to how much more in revenue you would get back, because at the end of the day, if you're going into MLS, you're going into it with a business mindset. I mean, the sports level is important and you want your fan base to be there, but if it doesn't make sense in the numbers and it doesn't make sense within the business, then it's just not going to make sense for you to put that investment there. So to me, it did feel more like they're a team that can continue to be a pillar for USL as they have been for so long, and they can continue to harness that league for whatever it might be. And there have been changes, and there is a vision, and there is some ambition to better that league. So I did feel like it was more of a USL play than an MLS play. And man, another California team from MLS, I don't know.
Well, and I mean, you would be getting another top 30. I think it's a top 30 tri-market. It's Sacramento, Stockton, Modesto. It's another top 30 TV market. Yeah, okay, great, fine. But for me, yeah, you'd be getting Northern California and even the boss. When I was talking to her about it last night and I was breaking down everything, she goes, well, how far is it from San Jose to Sacramento? And I said, it's a couple hours. And so she's like, well, fans are going to be driving from one to the other, but do you really want to put in you want to put in another California team into this when you've already got Oakland in USL as a natural rival to Sacramento, and you've got San Jose there for Major League Soccer? Do you want to put another MLS team in that space? And I mean, she's bringing this stuff up. So I was like, this has got to be USL Premier. This doesn't, unless Wilton Rancheria wants to set $2 billion with a B on fire, and half of that heading to the other owners in the league, just so you can be Team 31 or Team 32. I was thinking this was USL Premier. I really was.
Yeah, and to build an academy and all of these other things. I mean, there's just so many additional components to it that I really do feel like the Sacramento Republic, and that's to their credit, they're this own brand within USL, and I feel like their value overall just stands out more in that USL level. And I don't want to limit or handicap ambition. I would never do that. But that's just the things that I kind of put together as I looked at this story and went back to some of those interactions that I've had. I haven't had the pleasure to talk to anybody in the front office from Sacramento. But maybe that's something that I can look into as well.
Yeah, and you're looking at a stadium coming online in 28, USL Premier coming online in 28, and I saw those two numbers match up, and I'm like, okay. So that's where my head was going in this entire time. But along those lines, Don Garber has said that they want to expand. They want 31 and 32. My guess is that's probably where you draw the line. And
I hope so.
Yeah, well, I mean, because then if you go from there, then you really are thinking about, okay, if you're at 32 and you want to go to 34, then you may as well go to 40 and then set up pro rel yourself. And then that way you've got MLS 1, MLS 2, two groups of 20, and then you have it work that way. But then who would be the two to get you to 32? If we pull Sacramento to the side, thinking that that's USL Premier, is it as simple as saying Vegas and Detroit? Is it somebody else that is thrown into that mix? I mean, for me, you figure Vegas is probably a no-brainer, but you've got to wonder, are they going to play at Allegiant? Are they going to move to are they going to create their own barn? Are they going to go from grass to turf, considering the grass in that building, when things have been at Allegiant, it gets chewed up pretty quick. And then Detroit, you're stepping on USL toes, but I don't think Major League Soccer cares. Where do you think 31 and 32 could come from?
Vegas is the one that I'm with you that it should be, or it will be by all standards, talking about the business side, talking about a place that I think would be a at least interesting landing spot for talent globally. Right now, when we're starting to talk about all these stars going into now places like Orlando and all these things, maybe Vegas might not be the best place to go to for those of us that are around the United States or have been to Vegas, but maybe to those outside of the states or something to that effect. I think it'd be interesting to have it. Plus the soccer culture, plus this urgency to just feed Vegas with sports teams, to me just feels like that's what's next. The other one, I would not hate Detroit, and I feel like that's the only other place that I can think that has been in the race long enough and has been rumored long enough that it would make sense. And Detroit is a city that rallies around their teams regardless of how good or bad they are. I mean, the Lions are a perfect example, and the Pistons. So they've had good times, bad times, and that fan base stays strong. So yeah, I feel like overall between the soccer culture and, again, you have to think about the overall fan base. You got to think about the casual fan and what is there to do around the city. I feel like Detroit would be one that would not struggle to get a better, bigger fan base.
And Bart, our Bart Keeler from the Soccer for US POD had mentioned Phoenix right now. I think either way, you're going to step on USL toes. Well, in Phoenix, Phoenix right now plays in a modular stadium at 34th and Washington. Phoenix Rising, and I think it's like 8. I think it's what it has a capacity for 8. For Division I status, you need to be, I think, double that, and you've got to have. I think it's 16 or 18,000 minimum capacity for Division I status, and all those kinds of things. So you'd have to build your own barn. Do you take the Rising facility at 34th and Washington? Does USL convert itself over to Major League Soccer ownership? Because MLS is going to want the expansion fee. They're not going to want a relocated Vancouver franchise and figure it out there. It's going to probably have to be, at least if it's Phoenix, it's got to be domed, or it's got to be incredibly temperature ready, and you've got to be prepared to do all those late night games because of the weather in Phoenix. So, that to me would be the stumbling blocks. There would be weather and building a barn, and that. Detroit, space is there. Do you play in Ford Field until your specific soccer stadium is ready? I know Detroit City is building their own new one at an abandoned hospital site, and they're putting a lot of effort into that. So, yes. I'm thinking some combination, and Bart gets definitely a gold star here. Phoenix, Vegas just being a hot property just in general, everybody gravitating there, as you say, and then Detroit to go Eastern Conference, and then you have to kind of juggle the conferences and things like that. But yeah, when Sacramento came online yesterday, I was like, yeah, I've got to ask you about this when you came in. So that was where that topic came from. Other stuff on the board. Griezmann is now officially official. He's in Orlando. And to me, that's an instant yellow light. I know that I wanted to get red light, yellow light, green light with you here at the bye week, but that's a yellow light for me, considering you're dealing with an interim coach and you don't know who is going to be brought in. Does Griezmann have any say in that? He's coming in July. What's Orlando going to look like in July? Is the purple team going to be where they are? Are they going to continue to struggle? I mean, there are a lot of flashing yellow lights here with Griezmann going to the purple team.
And you know me for a long time, John, you know that I'm not the let's put at the parade for the veteran European player coming to retire here, because I feel like it fits to the narrative of this is still a retirement league, and they're going to come here unmotivated. I've seen the good and I've seen the bad. The good has been a guy like Mueller that has been such an electrical and influential piece of that team. And we have seen it gone poorly. So I remain happy with the acquisition for MLS. I do think that it provides another set of eyes. I think that Griezmann's still a very good striker at 35 years old. I think that he can rise the level of play for this team from several standpoints. I think that he's still a very good pressing striker. I think that he is a big enough name that this team can immediately get a higher caliber of talent that's going to help out a final third that has been an issue all season long. But that's not the only problem. So when you're going into a team that just got their coach scapegoated, and we talked about this last week, I said, look for that second game. They're going to get a reality check against Nashville, and oh boy, did they, right? So the problems with this Orlando team is the build of the roster, is the lack of a midfielder that can hold the tempo, that can hold possession. Without Wilder Cartagena, there's no defensive midfielder. There's nobody that could win a ball. I mean, every ball is a 50-50. There's nobody that can really handle that midfield. Defense has been catastrophic. Goalkeeping, don't even get me started. So this Orlando team just has so many holes that I don't know if Griezmann's enough. And to me, and we'll talk about green light, yellow light, red light, we'll get into that then, but I just don't think that Griezmann's enough just by himself to put this team at a better position. You talk about coaching. How does that work out? That sort of player needs some leadership. They need some structure. And if you're going to just allow him to come in and just be nilly-willy, then he's going to be another Higuain in his very first couple of seasons, where he's going to think he's going to come in here, it's going to be easy, it's going to be cake, and once things start getting hard, I just don't know if he's going to be able to put it all together and really be motivated enough to get this team moving forward. So I'm skeptical. Again, I don't want to sound too harsh. I love what it sounds like, that MLS, and I feel like this is something that I want to touch on real quick as well. There's this odd or false narrative that MLS is going back to getting big time players, big name players. MLS has been doing that and has never stopped getting big time players, whether it's Gareth Bale or Cicchini or Insigne or Pipita Higuain. I mean, this MLS has always been good about just capitalizing on getting those sort of players. I think that what we're missing on is that MLS has turned themselves into a product that's good enough for Lionel Messi to take a chance in his career to say, look, I can go to MLS and not be, embarrassed, or I feel like this is a good place where I can finish my career, but it's competitive and is I respect the league. Same thing with Griezmann. Griezmann could have gone anywhere else. He could have played anywhere else. He decides to come in here, and I get that there is a interest in the living situation and living in the U.S. and let's call it Disney World status and all of these things that you do get in Orlando. But if the league wasn't a competitive league, these guys would not come. And that includes Son and all of these players that we've gotten recently. So I do think that MLS has gotten that much better. But to conclude the Orlando and Griezmann topic, I think he's going to be a quality player. He's going to come in, perform. I'm not sold on him making this team a playoff team right off the bat. There's way too many holes there, and we'll see where his success is at. I'm not ready to just name him the golden boot coming in the summer. I'm really not.
No, I'm right there with you. I've got too many stop signs and on four-way intersections. So that for me right now, I'm like, I don't know. Two other names have kind of popped up and circulated in the last couple of days. Casemiro has circulated starting like last night that with him, his contract with Manchester United expires June 30, end of the fiscal year. And right now, Messi and friends interested, LAG interested, the Saudi league that we don't talk about, condone or endorse, is interested in Casemiro starting July, because it would be a free. And then obviously the future of Mo Salah. Everybody's been talking about his relationship with Sir Mohammed Mansour, and San Diego as an option there. You know, I could see worse places to have as an option when you're leaving Liverpool. But there's also, you know, the league we don't talk about is interested in Mo Salah as well. Those ideas came across the last couple of days. Casemiro and Mo Salah, what did you think about that?
Those are both interesting in the exact same tier of none of these players are going to create Messi effects or Beckham effects or even Son effects to a certain level. I think they're fine players if you want to capitalize on getting butts in seats and jersey sales. And I don't want to take away the effectiveness of a guy like Casemiro that I think would be a good fit for LAG. When I saw the story and I started hearing about what was going on, I had talked to someone within LA that said, look, this is a guy that they had looked at and they had thought about as an option. So he is somebody that I think would be an interesting fit for that team. And he can still perform at 34 years old. But when it comes to both of these players, I see Casemiro closer to MLS than Mo Salah. I think Mo Salah, I don't know, just reading in between the lines of the way he talks about MLS and the way he talks about where his career is going, I don't see him leaving Europe. No. And if he does leave Europe, I do think that it could be for the league that we don't talk about. But there's clear interest. I think it'd be cool to have him, sure. But I'm not dying about it. I hate this. MLS has to go get this guy. It just they absolutely have to. They need this guy. No, you don't. No, you don't. It'd be cool to have him, but you don't need either of these players.
All right, red light, yellow light, green light, since we're in the bye week. And do you want to start with the positive and go to the negative, or do you want to start with the negative and go to the positive?
Ooh, you know what? We'll end on the good note. So let's start with the red lights. For me, the biggest red light so far, and it's one that I honestly didn't think they were going to be this bad. I thought that they would struggle, is the Philadelphia Union. I mean, I'm going chalk here. Extremely easy pick there. But Carnell's inability to bring this team back from the dead, basically. I mean, he's just sitting there trying to shock this team back together, and there's no response. Is odd, and it's I don't want to make it a situation like they do in South America, where it feels like the players are trying to get the coach out, that there's some sort of misconnection and they just want him gone, because they're having moments for this Philadelphia team where you feel like they're almost there, but it feels like the LA Galaxy of about a season ago, where even when they get ahead in the score or they're playing well, you're just waiting for the chips to fall. Like you're waiting, oh, here we go. They're going to give up a goal. They're going to give up a PK. They're going to give up a set piece. And he just kind of gravitates from there. I think midfield has been okay. I think on offense, they're lacking a bit. But defensively, where this team has always been good at, it just has been unrecognizable. And it just concerns me. I don't see right now how or when this team is going to get back to at least middle form in the Eastern Conference.
Well, and to your point, you don't have Glesnes and Kai Wagner anymore. You now have Westfield and Oluwatu Makanya. So you have the younger players that are trying to learn the system of Bradley Carnell, which is, I guess, Jim Curtin adjacent. And you have young guys who are making mistakes, or if they're afraid of making mistakes, then they're playing too cautiously and things are allowed to happen in the gap spaces and they're being beaten from behind. The ball goes in behind and they're beaten there too. And so Andre Blake doesn't have his bodyguards anymore. And so I think that defensively, that's probably part of it. You lose for whatever reason. Ty Barabo goes to DC. Milan Olaski is now up top, and you're having to adjust to not having a lot of key players. And like I said, I've still got to go back and look at Bradley Carnell year 1 to year 2 with St. Louis City, because remember, year 1 in St. Louis top seed in the West, played the system. You got found out because you had to play folks more than once, and they found you out. And then year 2, the way that it started, and it didn't go well, and Lutz Pfannenstiel basically said, "Yeah, okay, fam, we're done." And then Carnell gets bumped out. Is it the same thing? Is Bradley Carnell the coach that can get you to a certain level with the new things that he has in mind, and then when the league figures him out, it's him adjusting to the league? And that is, that is the problem, in addition to the younger faces replacing all of those veterans that you had. So like I said, that's my 2 cents when I'm looking at Philadelphia from a distance. And
it's a good reminder that, I mean, there were some key pieces there that were gone. And although you knew that there was going to be a step back when it came to at least volume of play, chance creation, definitely goals, because Baribo was a bad man. I mean, regardless of what anyone may think about Baribo maybe being just a poacher, the guy brings it, and he still does it in DC, where he's just angry. He plays angry, and I love that. I think he's one of those strikers that he's going to get his way one way or another. And so there was going to be a step back. I just didn't think it was going to be bottom of the basement where, all your, first grade trophies were going to be at. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be that bad. And so that's what's concerning about this Philadelphia team. I don't doubt that they're going to get some help in the summer, but is it going to be too late? Perhaps.
Yellow Light, who you got?
Oh man, Yellow Light was interesting because there's a lot of candidates for my Yellow Light. I really like Houston, regardless of the last score and all this thing. I thought that Dallas was another one that I wasn't very high on going into this season, maybe a little lower than most, to be quite frank. It's uninspiring soccer. I didn't really see some of these pieces taking the next step, including Farrington, who has been, surprisingly even better than he was last season. Peter Musa, I thought he might be gone, to be quite frank. So all those players stayed in, but I'm going to go with, because I like admitting when I'm not totally right. I'm going to go with San Jose. I think San Jose proved to me against Vancouver that Bruce still Bruce, and Bruce can still put together and give a, let's call it no name or a not high profile defender the tools to be really, really good. This team defensively has been outstanding. I think the Nico Shakiris, that's all Nikos are. They're just good on the ball. Nikos are just very cerebral individuals. And Nico Shakiris has been great, man. He has been so much fun to watch. I think Judd has taken in his role of just being this co-stellar player that you're going to be able to hand him the rock, and he's going to do his job. He's going to do his duty. And then you got Timo Werner kind of elevating everything up. I didn't think it was enough. I honestly didn't. But I became a believer in this game against Vancouver because I do believe that they struggled to parts of the games. They were able to play through it. Defensively, they were pretty sound, and then they created enough to get this game on their side. So, would this team be better with a Christian Espinosa? Absolutely. They dropped the ball there, and I think that they do need to add some pieces. But they went from a red for me, where I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs, to being a playoff team. And so they go from red to yellow.
Then your green light is?
Oh, man, my green light was also difficult because I wanted to go chalk with LAFC because I do feel like everybody is really harping on, and I get it. It hasn't been pretty. It hasn't been pretty with LAFC. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it has been brilliant and this team has created all these chances. Yes, they're struggling. They probably would have lost to Austin this weekend, and they didn't. They still hold on to that unbeaten net part of the equation, and they're still high up in the standings, and I like them. I think that it's gonna get better. I do believe in Marc Dos Santos. I think that this team's gonna figure it out. But my green light, I'm gonna focus it on a team that is going from yellow to green, and that also has done enough for me to think that they can play with the best in the West, and it's RSL. I mean, you've been hearing me talk better and better and better about RSL every single weekend. I continue to be impressed with the discipline. I continue to be impressed with the ability to counter, their wide play, their depth, and just their offensive power. So this is not something that we hear from a Pablo team necessarily, that this is a team that can really get out there and beat you on offense, because he's always been disciplined defensively. But when you add a Diego Luna to what is already working, man, you have to, if you're on top of the West, you must be looking and feeling the heat from RSL, because this is a very, very good team. That 2-2 draw against San Diego, I thought they could have won this game. I thought that they were very good on the ball. Gozzo, maybe not the best two-way player, but on offense, woo, that kid's a problem. That kid is going to stretch out your defense. He's going to be a playmaker. He's going to be consistent in his pressing. I mean, in the way he presses with the ball. I mean, he's just so incisive consistently. Giliboki has been so good, so good. He's just a smart player. Like I said, I didn't have him referenced prior to coming to RSL. I'm not going to lie to you, but he just took a couple of games, including that cameo against the Sounders, to be like, man, this player sees the field differently. So they just have a lot of weapons with still a very compact, good defense, and a Rafael Cabral that I don't know where he found Chara's potion. Diego Chara might be sharing the secret, because he looks younger. I mean, he just looks like he could really do it. So RSL just very put together, very balanced team. So they're my green light, going from yellow to green.
So what is going on at Pulso Sports Sounder at Heart? What do folks need to know about here in the bye as you get ready for World Cup qualifying and the Intercontinental playoffs and getting back to it? What's going on?
Yes. So we are going back to Providence in Swedish Bouncy House today. So we'll be checking in with Brian Smetzer, seeing how things are going, getting some injury updates on Yemer, who's probably going to be out quite a long time, maybe 8 to 10 weeks. We're going to try to figure out what's going on with Hassani Dotson. Where's Jordan Morris after his quick cameo with the team? So we're going to be there today. So make sure you check out Pulso Sports, of course, and our YouTube channel for everything that we'll gather here today. Tomorrow with Jeremiah Oshen, as always, what we learned this week. Make sure that you check that out on the Thunder Cats Podcast Network, as well as Lobby's Coaches YouTube, that now is going to be running all of the videos from Thunder Hard. You'll be able to find those on Lobby's Coaches. And then on Monday, with Ari Lina Wall, we'll do the kickoff. Obviously, there's no MLS to look into, but we are going to focus a little bit on USMNT. Christian Roldana, obviously part of that team. We're going to talk a little bit about what's ahead for this Sounders team as well, that they have a really, really tough game against Tigres in CCC. So we'll still have some good content there on Monday on kickoff with
as always, my friend, great to see you. And please be safe going to the Providence and Swedish voting precinct and Bar and Grill. And we will catch up with you again same time next week. Love you very much, my friend. We'll see you soon.
You're the man, John.
Right,
appreciate you.
Niko Moreno. He's going to go get his 19th cup of coffee. All right, before we go, a couple of things. We've been talking a lot about teams in trouble, and now we have another one to keep an eye on, and it's Estudiantes. Estudiantes, according to Christian Moraes and Territorio MLS, banned by FIFA, will not be able to sign or sell players for the next 3 transfer windows. Punishment due to a debt with Messi and friends for the signing of Facundo Farias. And, maybe if you just kind of looked at their roster a little bit, there are some folks that can be had. If you're looking for particular players and stuff, if you want to help them out, help me, help you kind of a thing. So keep an eye on Estudiantes as well. It's going to be hard times for them and hard times for Botafogo, unless John Textor can come up with $1.5 million of Brazilian real and pay the tax man in Rio de Janeiro. So keep an eye on that as well. Tomorrow, the head coach of Meadow Creek, one of the top teams in the state in 6A, Jose Rodriguez is going to join us off the top. Casey White, Casey D, has been calling NWSL. She did that in the midweek, and she's going to be catching up with us at 10 o'clock. Hopefully catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring at 9:30. My guess is it would be Michael Parkhurst, considering Greg Garza looks like he's on a beach somewhere. Remember, also later today, 5:30 and 7:30, it is Morgan County and Callaway, Region 2 AA. Big matchups, boys and girls sides, 5:30 and 7:30 on the network. SoccerDownHere.net. Go to the Listen tab, and you'll find out which one of us is live. You sit there and get the flashing light, and it's live, and it's ready to go, all the things. So 5:30 and 7:30 there. Coverage from the Business of Soccer Summit downtown with Maddie Cruz. We'll have more on that as we go. But for everybody here, to all of you there, end of the show, that means one thing. I get to roll the close. Which plot y'all play it safe? We'll see you 5:30 from Hogansville this afternoon, presented by Kaiser Permanente. It's high school soccer on the SDH network. See you then.